On a quiet night in Jerusalem, where the lights of the city reflected centuries of history, a vibrant sound burst from the heavens, leaving everyone perplexed. It was no ordinary noise. It seemed to resonate directly into the souls of those who heard it, as if heaven itself was trying to communicate with mankind. What did this unexplained phenomenon mean? Was it simply a natural event, or a divine sign, such as those described in the scriptures? For many, the answer lay in faith and the words of the sacred texts that seemed to come alive before their very eyes. As the heavenly sound intensified, those present were reminded of the words of Psalm 46, "Be still and know that I am God." This din could not be ignored. Some fell to their knees, while others recorded with their phones, unable to comprehend the magnitude of the moment. If you enjoy content that helps you grow spiritually, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel, and join our community for more inspiration. Let's get started. It was impossible not to relate it to the biblical prophecies that spoke of angelic trumpets announcing transcendental events. The echo of Isaiah 43 resounded in hearts. Prepare in the wilderness a way for the Lord. This event seemed to be more than an acoustic phenomenon. It was a call to spiritual awakening. Shortly after the sound, a strange and dazzling light filled the heavens. It was not the sun, nor the moon, nor any known astronomical phenomenon. Its pure intensity illuminated both the city and the hearts of those watching. The connection to passages such as Matthew 24:31, where angels are sent with a great trumpet voice to gather the elect, was undeniable. This moment was perceived as a reaffirmation of divine power in an era marked by skepticism. In the midst of this spectacle, the impact of the event spread beyond Jerusalem. Images and videos began to circulate on social media, leading millions of people around the world to wonder if they were witnessing a prophetic fulfillment. Some, filled with awe, interpreted the light as a reminder of divine guidance, similar to the pillar of fire mentioned in Exodus 13:21. As the light persisted, the atmosphere was charged with a sense of anticipation. The event was not just a celestial curiosity. For many, it was a living message, an invitation to reflect on divine promises and to consider that the eternal continues to touch the earthly. In the heart of Jerusalem, a gloom enveloped the city, plunging it into an eerie silence. The sky, which until recently had shown its dazzling light, now seemed to withdraw, leaving a tangible darkness that weighed upon the hearts of the inhabitants and pilgrims. This sudden change in the atmosphere evoked ancient images of similar events recorded in the scriptures, generating among those present an awe charged with meaning. Moments like these confront us with essential questions about our faith, our purpose, and what it really means to be prepared for the divine. If you have ever felt the need to understand more the signs around us and find clarity in the midst of confusion, now is the time to act. This is exactly what the secret of Jesus' apparitions offers: a path to clarity and peace through his revelations. This ebook delves into his prophecies and offers a glimpse of what lies ahead. It is available for free in the anchored commentary. Grab it now before editions run out. As the gloom lingered, a murmur went through the streets of the city. The words of Zechariah 14:6-7 echoed in the minds of some. On that day there will be no light, neither cold nor hot. It will be a unique day, known only to the Lord, when the light reappears at evening. For many, this was the interpretation of what was unfolding before their eyes. It was not just any phenomenon, but a hint of something monumental and divine. The Wailing Wall, witness to centuries of prayers and tears, became the epicenter of a collective prayer movement. People gathered en masse, Whispers and chants rose like an echo, seeking an answer in the heavens. Some fearfully held candles, while others openly cried out, asking for clarity about the events that seemed to overwhelm all logic. Suddenly, a strong wind crossed the city, as if nature itself was trying to express something. This wind, charged with a strange warmth, seemed to revive the ancient prophecies of Joel 2:28-29. "And after this, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh." The event left no one indifferent, for it felt like a supernatural whisper that pierced the souls present, renewing both fear and hope. In parallel, from the surrounding hills, some witnesses reported seeing a luminous figure walking slowly toward the Mount of Olives. Those who managed to observe this flash claimed that it radiated an inexplicable peace, as the words of Zechariah 14:4 gained strength in their hearts. "On that day, his feet will stand on the Mount of Olives." This sighting added a new level of intensity to the already tense atmosphere, leading many to wonder if they were on the verge of the literal fulfillment of ancient promises. The atmosphere was charged with questions and emotions. While some watched with skepticism, others, with renewed faith, continued to proclaim that the eternal had once again touched the earthly, confirming that Jerusalem remained the epicenter of divine intervention. As the skies over Jerusalem continued to offer incomprehensible spectacles, a new phenomenon emerged, this time in the waters of the Kidron River. Nearby inhabitants began to notice that its usually calm course was suddenly altered, as if responding to an invisible force. The waters, clear in their usual appearance, took on a reddish hue, arousing both fear and amazement among those who witnessed this unusual change. Within hours, news spread quickly. Some related this phenomenon to the plagues of Egypt described in Exodus 7:20-21, where the Nile River turned to blood as a sign of divine power. Religious leaders, reflecting on this event, warned that it might be a heavenly warning, a reminder of the consequences of spiritual disobedience. Meanwhile, local scientists arrived on the scene to investigate the possible natural causes behind this change in the waters. Some speculated on the presence of specific algae or mineral compounds that could have caused the reddish color. However, their initial analyses offered no definitive explanation, which only added to the sense of mystery and connection to the supernatural. Signs like these always invite us to reflect and search for answers. If you haven't yet downloaded your free ebook, be sure to do so soon. Don't let this unique opportunity pass you by. Near the river, the reactions of witnesses varied. A group of pilgrims were greatly moved by what they saw and began to pray and sing hymns. They saw it as a sign that the Messiah was coming back. On the other hand, some inhabitants showed evident skepticism, assuring that it was nothing more than a natural phenomenon exaggerated by the collective fervor. This division of opinion reflected the constant tension between faith and reason in the city. In the midst of this uncertainty, a witness claimed to have seen a luminous figure by the river during the early morning hours. According to his account, the figure seemed to be pointing towards the waters, while a voice whispered to him, "The time is near." This testimony was quickly shared among the communities of believers, who interpreted it as an urgent message to prepare their hearts for the coming events. The streets of Jerusalem were again filled with pilgrims, this time heading toward the Kidron River. Some carried vessels to collect the reddish water, believing it might have miraculous properties, while others simply watched, trying to understand the meaning of what was happening. Among the crowd, the words of Joel 3:18 echoed, "A fountain shall come forth from the house of the Lord and water the valley of Shittim." For the faithful, these waters were much more than a physical change. They were a symbol of purification, and redemption in the midst of a time of confusion and expectation. Images of the celestial phenomenon over Jerusalem continued to circulate around the world, sparking passionate debates and a wave of reactions that seemed to unite and divide in equal parts. In the city, religious leaders convened a meeting on the Mount of Olives, a place charged with spiritual symbolism. From early morning, worshippers from different traditions flocked to the site, carrying holy scriptures, candles and, in some cases, flags of their countries, representing the diversity of those who saw in this event a universal sign. In the midst of the prayers and songs, a warm breeze blew through the mountain, accompanied by a reverent silence. One of the rabbis present addressed the crowd, quoting Zechariah 14:4, which describes how the Lord will set his feet on this very mountain in the final days. His words hit people hard, and many of them fell to their knees, sure that they were witnessing a prophetic moment. At the same time, groups of scholars and scientists were making observations from around the city. Equipped with telescopes and drones, they attempted to analyze atmospheric conditions that might explain the lights and figures that had appeared in the skies. However, the lack of clear patterns or convincing explanations only fueled the feeling that what had happened transcended any known logic. On social media, debates reached a fever pitch. Videos recorded from different angles showed an eerie synchronicity between the movements of the celestial lights and the reactions of the crowd on the ground. A live broadcast from a church in the United States, where a pastor analyzed the event in the light of Revelation 12:1. A great sign appeared in heaven. A woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, reached millions of views in a few hours, connecting believers from different parts of the world. In the streets of Jerusalem, a group of young believers began to organize night vigils. They lit torches and walked in procession to the Western Wall, praying and singing hymns that spoke of redemption and hope. Among them, a young woman named Miriam recounted feeling a special calling during the phenomenon. "I saw something in the sky, a flash that was not of this world. From that moment, I knew I needed to be here, praying for our city and our people. Every instant in Jerusalem seemed to be charged with meaning, as if heaven was speaking directly to our hearts." Remember, you can access the ebook right now and explore more about how to interpret these moments. Copies are limited, so take advantage while you can. The emotional intensity of recent days also led to more dramatic reactions. In a nearby neighborhood, a man, known for his skepticism toward religious issues, was seen handing out bread and water to pilgrims arriving without resources. When interviewed, he simply said, "Something big is happening. I may not understand everything, but I feel it is time to do good." The inhabitants of Jerusalem were not only witnesses of a supernatural event, they were protagonists of a chapter that seemed to unite the biblical promises with the present. The city, surrounded by an air charged with mystery, remained the central scene of a phenomenon that challenged both science and faith. In the vicinity of Mount Zion, a group of local shepherds reported an event that soon attracted the attention of all Jerusalem. During the early morning hours, as they were checking on their flocks, an intense light appeared on the horizon, unlike any known phenomenon. What at first appeared to be a reflection of dawn quickly transformed into a luminous figure that seemed to move gracefully over the fields. The shepherds, incredulous but intrigued, described hearing a chorus-like sound, with voices that echoed as if from the heavens themselves. In whispers, they began to recite the 23rd Psalm. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," seeking comfort in the face of what they perceived as an event of sacred dimensions. The news did not take long to reach the inhabitants of Jerusalem, many of whom flocked to the site to witness the phenomenon. Meanwhile, local religious authorities were divided in their interpretation. Some claimed that this event evoked the visions of the prophet Ezekiel, particularly the passages in which he describes heavenly wheels and figures, Ezekiel 1:15-21. Others, more skeptical, called for prudence, recalling the warnings of Matthew 24:4. "Take heed that no man deceive you." In parallel, astronomers and meteorologists attempted to investigate the nature of the light. Setting up equipment near the site, they recorded unexplained fluctuations in the electromagnetic fields, increasing the sense that this phenomenon defied any conventional scientific explanation. Despite their efforts, the specialists were unable to determine a clear origin, leaving open the possibility that it was something beyond the earthly. One of the pilgrims who got to the site was an old woman called Ruth, who was known for being wise and having a strong faith. She shared a dream she had the night before, in which she saw a glowing figure who told her, "Lift up your eyes, for your redemption is at hand." Her story was met with tears and prayers from those present, who interpreted it as a confirmation of divine promises. Near dusk, a group of young musicians decided to organize a praise song at the site of the phenomenon. As they played their instruments, many claimed to feel an indescribable peace that seemed to envelop them. Among them, a young man named Elias mentioned that this event had rekindled his faith, leading him to reflect on the importance of being spiritually prepared for whatever the future might bring. As we reflect on the weight of these signs, don't forget that you have at your disposal the free e-book that so many are already reading. Units are disappearing fast. Are you going to run out of yours? Find it in the first commentary posted. Following the phenomena in Jerusalem, the spiritual and social impact continued to spread beyond the city's borders. In response to the events, religious leaders around the world intensified their messages of reflection and preparation. In the United States, local churches organized community meetings under the theme of Matthew 24:44. "Therefore you also be ready, for the Son of Man is coming at an hour you do not expect." These meetings sought to foster a deeper connection with the prophetic texts and to encourage congregations to live in a constant spiritual readiness. Meanwhile, in Europe, an interfaith congress held in Geneva brought together representatives of Jewish, Christian, and Muslim communities to discuss the meaning of celestial phenomena. It explored the convergences between the sacred traditions of each faith, highlighting how these visions can be interpreted as a universal call for reconciliation and mutual understanding. A participating rabbi quoted Zechariah 8:22, "And many nations will come to seek the Lord of hosts in Jerusalem," as a reminder that recent events call not only to a single community, but to all humanity. In parallel, Jerusalem became an epicenter of pilgrimage. Thousands of believers traveled from Asia, Africa, and Latin America to witness the place where the signs were perceived. Some of these pilgrims described profoundly transformative experiences. One Filipina visitor, after praying at the Wailing Wall, said she felt a peace that surpassed all understanding, recalling Philippians 4:7. Meanwhile, in South Korea, Christian communities held mass vigils, raising songs praising the promise of redemption associated with Jerusalem. The phenomenon also prompted a surge of academic interest. At a symposium in Rome, interpretations of apocalyptic texts were discussed in light of recent events. Experts in theology and archaeology pointed to the importance of texts such as Revelation 21:2, which describes the coming of the New Jerusalem, and discussed how these events could inspire a global movement towards spiritual and social restoration. At the same time, the international scientific community maintained its focus on the analysis of the observed phenomena. Astronomers stationed in the Judean desert attempted to decipher whether recent celestial patterns could be explained by natural events. Although no conclusive anomalies were found, many concluded that the phenomenon, rather than dividing, had opened an unprecedented space for dialogue between faith and science. If this message makes you think and you feel it connects with you, don't forget to like it, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment. Also, if you really want to support our work and help us continue creating valuable content, consider giving us a super thanks. Join this amazing community and don't miss any news. In the political arena, world leaders began to consider the geopolitical significance of Jerusalem as a center of faith. UNESCO declared the phenomenon an event of cultural and historical significance, reinforcing the need to preserve the city as a space of peace and unity. This marked a milestone in global efforts to promote interfaith dialogue in the midst of current tensions. These events, both religious and social, have changed the way people around the world think about Jerusalem. In every corner of the world, conversations were rekindled about the transcendence of the signs and their significance in a context of shared faith and hope. With each reflection and act of faith, the impact of these phenomena continued to grow, calling millions to look to the divine and strengthen their ties to the sacred.